Dear, how was your journey, first of all?
Good, thank you, yes.
Great. So would you like to introduce yourself? Should I give a very quick wrap up, because I know how much of a drag it can be to introduce yourself?
Oh no, I don't mind introducing.
Oh, okay,
yes.
Great.
Hi, my name is Jam, and my artist name is Planningtorock. I'm a trans queer music producer and visual artist. I'm 53, and I've been making music. I think I started when I was 16.
Beautiful. I would like to add, just if I may, that you did 4 incredible albums, that you made remixes for Lady Gaga, Who Else, Robin, Christine and the Queens. You worked with Peaches, you worked with The Knife, you worked lately with Aka, who's a friend of yours, and with the Karlberg, with this Karlberg Boulder in Stockholm. You worked with the ballet.
Yes. Coolberg, yes.
You have to use your microphone.
Yes, sorry, yeah, I did work with the Kohlberg
yes.
ballet, yes.
So I really, this is, for me, it's so nice because your range is really broad. It's not just this narrow thing, I do this, it's the whole thing, which I think is also so important to inform real artistic expressions, that it's broad. And even if we have 45 minutes, if from everything, also from our prep talk, I would like to talk to you and ask you so much more. I even made questions, so I make sure we get through. So, one thing, queer joy. This is what I find again and again, and I love that because there's so much dark stuff out there. And I know before you shared also personal and painful experience, but now you kind of celebrate queer love and happiness. So why is that vital for you, and why do you make joy a political statement itself?
I think I'd like to start by sharing something that I think is very important, especially when we're talking about technology and AI and everything. I have nothing to do with the music industry. I have been an independent artist pretty much all my career. And I think in the beginning, I tried to work with labels, but now I'm older and I can reflect on why maybe that wasn't possible when I was younger, because of what I was singing about. So I definitely, as a trans and as a gay and queer artist, I guess I just haven't had that much contact with the music industry. For me, music quite literally saved my life. It was the way that I was able to work out who I was, and somehow get back and reunited with myself. So music and art and creativity has been a very important space for me. I would say that that's where I've lived most of my life, because it wasn't easy for me to live in this sort of so-called reality. So I think with my music, when I first made music, I just thought it was so... I was just so excited to be able to write songs about things that I was trying to understand, quite simply. And that was my first record. And I think then after that, I started to open the lid on understanding that I had been assigned female at birth, and that was nothing to do with me, that there was more to me, and that I was actually quite lost and alone and numb. So music really, all the records that I made, basically, I feel were just the music was come with me, I will get you back together with yourself. Yeah. And so, of course, that kind of journey, and I am glad to say that I do know myself pretty well now in my 50s, and I know that I'm trans and I'm the happiest I've ever been. There is genuine joy through this journey with making music, and also making it very, very independently. So when I say independently, I mean really DIY, just doing everything myself. I work as a solo producer, I produce, I'm an engineer, I'm a vocalist, a performer, I do it all because I really love it. And I found it such a powerful and interesting language as well. Together with that, it also brought me together with a community. When I moved to Berlin, I met a lot of other queer artists as well. So yeah, music has really kind of given me my life, actually, I would say.
It's so beautiful. And this is one thing I think I read, that you used music as a mirror on your journey to yourself, something along that lines. And that, for me, clicked. It was like, wow, all that just on a teaspoon, and I really loved it. There's another thing that I found super interesting, and that is technology as liberation, because I mean we hear a lot about the negative effects of digital music, AI music, whatever, just, you know, also how technology can isolate us from one another. But what you do, you use a lot of these tools also for finding your own voice, and I'd love to have you talk more about that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's important when you're talking about technology and AI, you have to, you know, there's the industry, there's the business, and actually there's a lot of exploitation in that world. But actually from a creative perspective, technology is amazing, and definitely sort of the technique of manipulating my voice, for example, definitely, I mean, I got into sort of pitching my voice, and pitching my voice lower made me almost kind of like hear myself, my authentic voice for the first time. And it was like the very first step into me understanding who I was. And that was technology. That was literally like, you know, a bunch of gear, you know, and I became very, very excited and obsessed with that as well. So it's it can really facilitate an individual and personal sort of exploration for sure, and it can be very, very powerful. Absolutely,
yes. Yeah. And I think, I mean, that is also what I just talked about. It's like how you use the tools. It's not just which tool you use, but how you use them, and that can make a huge difference. Now, you talk about queering sound, and that kind of connects to that and what you just said. Tell me about that, because that is, you definitely coined something with that.
Yeah, I mean, I even thought to myself, what do I actually mean by that? Most of the time it just means that I'm the one that's making the sound, so it's going to be queer. But I think it's also just, you know, you've got a lot of gatekeepers in music making who try and say, like, well, this is the right way, this is the wrong way. Music doesn't have any rules, and sound and music doesn't have any limits, and that's what's really beautiful about it, you know. And so I think for me, like, it became like my way of talking about my queerness, so sound became like very queer. It's very interesting though, like thinking about like queer sound and queer music, that people have over the years described my music to be political. And to be honest with you, there are a few tracks that I think maybe are political, but most of the time it's not. It's actually just me talking about myself. And so it becomes political when like straight people listen to it, because they're like, oh, you're singing about being gay or queer, then that's really political. It's not political, it's actually just me singing about myself. But it might feel like it's political because it's challenging sort of a more straight environment. But yeah, I think, I mean, I also learnt a lot from really wonderful other like queer music producers as well. And I think I really love, it's not just sound, it's also songwriting and lyricism as well. Like I think when I first started making music, you know, like everybody, like starting out writing songs, you're learning what that means for you. But very quickly, I really enjoyed being much more direct about what I wanted to say, so that people would not be confused at all.
I think I have to say, one thing that we talked before, and that just, whoa, I loved it so much, because when I went through your playlist, it's like, what? It's all in the titles. It's like you have. Give me some of your song titles.
I mean, my third album is called All Love's Legal. There is Let's Talk About Gender Baby, another song, Patriarchy Over and Out, you know, and I really enjoyed actually just, you know, trying to make titles that were fun as well. I mean, to say like misogyny or trans misogyny drop dead, it's funny, you know, it's also what I want, but it's also really funny. So finding ways to be a bit faster because these topics are very, very important and people's lives and existences depend on it, you know, that we talk about these topics. So just finding, and also music's so good with that. Like if you make a really fun dance track and then talk about trans misogyny, for example, it's a space where people can feel good and also then maybe open up to thinking about that, what you're trying to talk about.
Which is highly political. And that is, I think that is why also, and that has something to do even with this whole AI thing, because there's this big question, for example, can AI be the artist or can it be creative? It can be creative, it cannot be the artist, because to be an artist you need a personal urgency, a personal expression. You become an artist because it's like your way of seeing the same thing that other people see it too, but you give your thing to it and you come from a perspective, you have a strong story. And by being personal, you are political.
It's true, but I would also say that, I mean, again, the politics around AI is a big subject because there is always people wanting to exploit any new technology. It's also very, very intersectional in terms of like in relationship to racism, sexism, and gender discrimination and homophobia, etc. I would say though that I think actually AI is, you know, when you think about existences, so like where are you able to legally exist in places? So, for example, like when I was 16 in the UK, you had a law called Clause 28, which meant that you couldn't talk about being gay and you couldn't talk about being trans or queer. So legally, it was very hard to exist. So I would say that music was where I could exist, you know? And I think AI can be that for a lot of people. It's a place where you can exist and you can live your reality. I would say that for me, personally, is just as real as a person, you know? Like, I mean, I think that then is just an extension. And I'm very, very... I don't like to speak for other people's experiences in relationship to AI. And that's why I try and always make that distinction, you know, from the creative experience and relationship to technology, which is very, very real. And then the industry and the politics around it and then the law around it is something else. And what I would always ask is, who are those people? You know, who are the people making the laws on that? Who are the people in the industry using that? And what are their purposes? And I think that's very different to like having a few like kind of low-income queers in Berlin experimenting with AI for their identity or to explore who they are or, you know, something like that. I think it's always important to keep these things separate.
Yes, it's so funny because in the 15 minutes I had before, this is exactly what I said. It's like music, industry, people who sell music, people who buy music, people who make music. Take one thing out, you don't have music anymore, or you don't have industry anymore. And well, so we cannot, hold on, you cannot talk about all of this in one go. And that again goes about like even the tools and the laws. We cannot discuss all that in one go, but we can say for ourselves, it's first of all about what tool we use. It is maximal about how we use the tool, and do we know the outcome? Like who else do we? What do we really say with that? And who do we affect with it? Also, what kind of data do we use, and how freely do we give our data away? So again, the topic is so huge, but the question now is like, if taken out, if we use it, and that was my point, if we use it to express ourselves, if we express really straightforward ourselves and our struggle, it is political. because we will affect and we will inspire. And I know you inspired a lot of people, and you're also, and this is, even if I see someone struggling, if I see someone out there being open about it, going straight forward. And that's also why I love to make this bow to your music, that it is combined with fun. You really put your finger in the very painful places and make it still like snappy and fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about commodification there, basically. That basically is the issue. I would take question of like who's the we as well, like
Yes.
Yeah, and I definitely like it's always about like who are these people making the decisions about these things, but also like who are the artists as well. And like for example, in my different communities in London, in Berlin, like I feel like. Also a younger generation that are very, very DIY, have a very, very personal relationship to technology and AI, and they're using it for personal reasons, but like, and also like shining light within the community. But I think when I talk about like intersectionality, I do really want to sort of stress as well, like how, for me, it is a very, very straight industry. It's a very straight white male industry still, so this is, and that's why I've always operated outside of it. And in a way, like I don't use AI yet, I find it very, very fascinating, but I'm not at that point yet. But I have a lot of friends that are using it, and it's very different. I feel like my friends are using AI in a very, very different way to how it's being discussed, for example.
That is a very important point. So curiosity is, and willingness to learn, that's why also community is so important, that we don't just take for granted what people tell us about tools, how they are being used. So there's a lot about that. That's why I think community is super important. And of course, I mean, queerness is absolutely your topic, but if we talk about like artistically or like what is political in a big sense, this is what I was talking about, and that is sharing your own struggle, being out there and be straightforward with it and really working with it.
If you can. I mean, this is the other thing about safety, I'm white, so it's actually, that's one thing that makes it a lot easier for me to be as visible as I am. I mean, I'm about to release a record that is very much about being transgender, and I'm very worried about the consequences of that, of becoming more visible as a trans person, as the politics around transgender people get more and more scary. I mean, I also have age. I can't believe I'm saying this, but actually being in my 50s does protect me, because they're like, when you get older, people are just like, you're a little less important, so being white and older does protect me. But like if I was a younger black artist, for example, this would not be the same. I also find it really interesting with AI, because what you talk about a lot is like appropriation, basically. Like if someone's impersonating Billie Eilish's voice or whatever, but if you think about it, like there's been appropriation in music for as long as we can remember, like you think about how black music has been, like black culture as well has been appropriated in music for so long, and no one says anything about it, until they do. But like AI is a bit, in a way, like a bit the same, like there is an appropriation of like artistry, culture, so in a way it's not a bad thing that these topics get addressed.
Absolutely.
Even more so, but yeah.
But that's another thing. In the minute we are listening to the radio, our neural network is informed by different kinds of culture, which is great. And me as an artist, I'm digesting these things. So there are very different ways, and they are very also different, like how do I sit with this? Is it actually great to like exchange cultural things, and but appropriation, of course, is something different. It's just I'm taking it, I'm saying it's mine, and you are out of the picture. And here we have a problem, and that is what is happening, for example, with tools like Zuno, where it's like we just take everything, we say this is a magic machine, and now you can press a button and out comes a song. So there is the parallel, and that's where I say if we don't question these things, and if we go in the old human way for shortcuts, sugarcoating, not questioning, avoiding the uncomfortable bits, then we are giving away the strongest traits we have as artists and as humans.
It's interesting though. I'm hearing you, but I'm also thinking, like when I first pitched my voice, and we're going to play a couple of tracks. For me, that was my authentic voice. I literally was like, I am hearing my real voice for the first time. That sounds like me. And everybody was like, but that's not your real voice. And I'm like, what is a real voice? What is authenticity, artistic authenticity? I would argue that it's whatever I say it is. Like, my authenticity is whatever I say it is, you know? But like, when people, you could look at it like when people start to decide what authenticity is, you know, then you're getting into a very, I would say, worrying territory, you know, because again, it's about, for me, that completely overlaps into like people saying like, I can't say who I am, you know, as a trans person, you know, but, you know, the state can say who I am. You know, the state can legally, when I was born, stamp a letter next to my name and saying that's who you're going to be for the rest of your life, you know? So I'm like,
but who says what authenticity is? You have to use the word to
I think whatever your authenticity is for you, that's what it is.
For me.
Yeah. And what it is for
something
me.
Else
yeah,
for
but
you.
when you get to the point where you start to decide what authenticity is in
who
general,
does it?
Well, this is the question. Again, we're back to the we. Who is this we? You know, like when we want this or we want that. You know, I just say like for myself, like authenticity is like. Whoever, in a way, the person who's saying this is authentic for me, this is how I feel, this is my experience, whatever that is. I mean, does anybody remember Second Life?
Yes, of course.
You remember this? I loved it. It was hilarious, you know, just so much fun. And for me, like that, again, like it was such an important experience for me because it made me realize that I felt more alive in Second Life than I did in this so-called real life. And it really made me question, like, what is this like so-called real life where apparently I'm not allowed to exist as my authentic self, you know, like, so, and I think as an artist I mean, art and music has always been such a brilliant place to explore that, you know, like to really sort of have no limits, which are being challenged now,
yes.
Obviously. All the
it's
time.
so nice that you pointed out that this thing with the we, because obviously we have to use words. And then I can sometimes have a very long description, or I can just use something. But I know what you talk about because I was struggling with a very long time because I didn't feel at home on Earth at all to even say it, like to declare myself as a human being or whatever. But felt really stupid about it. So the whole thing was that we comes easily on my over my tongue. Took a very long time, and I used that not to say we means everything in that we is the same. And if I say authenticity, of course it means like you for you, me for me, they for they, whatever. But it is a point, and that is also a point about our like being here and now, being like stuck on these things, on nitty pitty, no. We really have heavy issues to deal with, and like taking things apart when it's actually about, it's words are words, and we have to be careful with it. We have to speak consciously. But this nitty-gritty stuff is also, and I see that a lot around us, is getting us away from actually getting shit done.
Well, I think you just need more words. So I think, like, you know, you talk about the industry. The industry use AI as an opportunity to create a bunch of music that they don't have to pay artists for. It's publishing free, you know, and they get all the money for it. I mean, that's basically what it is.
But it's not. That is much too. Again, you can every topic on earth you can stream down, like put down, dance down on a teaspoon. And it says something that makes sense to you, and you say that's enough or not enough words, but also that is a very individual thing, because no, the music industry is much more, and it's much more differentiated and much more complex. You can put it down to this, but it's not. And that is the same thing with every topic we speak about. So I think to give each other the freedom also to say, how much space do we have to talk about this thing? And then I allow you, if you talk about the music industry, to dance it down. And I don't like blame you for doing it, because even though I know it's totally stripped down, it left out most of it. It is, I know what you're intending to say. And I think that is super important. And you have a valid point. I want to hear your point, not just the words.
No. Well, the point is made by the words, but I wasn't dancing it down. I'm saying that is an aspect of it.
Yeah.
What I mean is that I think, you know, that there is an industry and industries, you know, and I've seen this all the time, that there are how creativity is then seen as a financial opportunity, and we're also looking at thinking about actually who are the people behind that. And I think it's just, for me, it's never detailed enough. You know, I'm actually quite literally asking, who are the people behind that? Because I know the individual artists who are using technology and AI to explore very important topics about their sexuality, about their identity, for example, about the history of their heritage, or, you know, their cultural heritage. There are lots of really, really beautiful, you know, sort of creative explorations. But then how that then is then turned into a commodity. And I think that's, for me, something that I have always been very aware of, very wary of, and stayed away from. But also not being able to fit into either, you know, there have never, I mean, with this new record now, I mean, it's been really hard because they're very nervous to release a record that is explicitly talking about a transgender life, basically, because of the politics around transgender people right now.
Yes.
So, you know, it might even be my next record is pure AI because it's kind of safer for me, you know, politically, but literally, better, it's safer for my existence if I create an AI artist, and that would be then the way that I can be safe and creative.
That if you create a world and it is your way of authentic expression with your own avatar, that's your persona or whatever, of course that is cool. That's also what I said. It is how you use it and with what intent you use these things. And to ask who's behind these stuff is so important. That is this whole thing about critical question, not going with the shortcut and the easy go. I have to say we are very short in time, and I want music examples. This is exactly, you didn't even have to do the number girl here.
Okay. Okay, so music examples, sorry. I haven't got my glasses on. No, I'm so sorry. I was
what is going on here?
Couldn't see.
Music, please.
I know my feelings.
So I'm going to say a little bit about that. So, that song's called Doorway, and it's off my second album, and that was the first song that I sang with my voice pitched down. And actually, I do want to share, I didn't have gear that did that. How I did it was I recorded the song, pitched the whole song up, sung it high, and then pitched the whole lot down. And when I heard that, like when I hear it now, it's like, oh, jam, like wow, like I really, really feel myself very, very strong. It was such an important moment for me as a trans queer person, but also as a music producer, because it just opened up this possibility of, like, I've never been precious about my voice either. Like, I think I really see it as a tool, as a language exporter. And yeah, so it was very, very fun. And it's kind of weird to hear it and be on stage. I so want to like just start performing it. Like, but yeah, so that was Doorway, quite literally doorway into the beginning of a very important journey. Okay, track 2, please.
Let's talk about you, baby. Let's talk about you, baby. Let's talk about you, baby. Let's talk about you and me, you and me. Let's talk about you, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about you, baby. Let's talk about you and me, you and me.
Thank you. So yeah, that track's about talking about gender. It's a really good example of just the title was Let's Talk About Gender Baby. The lyric was Let's Talk About Gender Baby. And that's it. That was like the sentiment. It's a simple thing, something that I'm interested in. I also love the voice on that. I found it so sexy as well. It's so like chill and like, I'm just, you know, it's just a little question. And it's very, very fun to perform as well. Because it feels like, for me anyhow, it feels like it's a very clear question, but there's just so much openness there as well. Like there's so much, you know, it's a big topic, so there's lots to talk about. So thank you. Last track, please.
It's always been my body. It's my gift, given to me, to tell my story through my body. So get off my body. Get your fucking nose off my ain't your body. Ain't your body. Get your fucking nose off my ain't your body. Ain't your body. My body ain't your body. My body ain't your
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please. I just want to say really quickly about that song. So that song in the UK, they brought in a law to ban conversion therapy, but that ban excluded trans people. So I wrote that song exactly for that bill, to help and encourage the UK government to include banning conversion therapy for trans people. And yeah, it's a really fun song also. It's a very basic right, I think, that our bodies are our bodies. And I really do believe, and I do like sharing this with people, that, you know, your body is your body. The universe gave it you, you know, and it's yours. And you should be free and feel good in it and do what you want with it. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Let's leave it here. Thank you.